Hi, this is Joe Bartz, and welcome back to Everyday Hypnosis. The next few videos that I'm making here will deal with an important topic for me and many of my musician colleagues, stage fright. We'll talk about how stage fright comes about, what it actually is, and some techniques and some ways in which one can deal with it. As always, my approach is more a rekindling of autonomy and not a masking or suppression of symptoms. So in this first video, we're going to talk about how does stage fright come about. I mean, we need to understand one very important thing, and that is our stress reactions, fight, flight, or freeze, are not problems in and of themselves, and the way they're designed, they're excellent survival mechanisms. I mean, if we're in a real dangerous situation, it's important that we have certain focus on certain stimuli that are important for that situation, that we have mobilize an extra energy and extra strength, and even become less sensitive to pain. And in a biological viewpoint, that's a great thing. If my house is on fire, if I have to fight a tiger, or I'm in a battle, or I need to hide from a serial killer. But in a performance situation, a concert or a speech or whatever, is none of those. So in my experience, there are basically two categories where stage fright occurs. The first is very simple and it's pretty natural. A performance situation is unfamiliar to someone. They don't possess the necessary skills to navigate that situation. It's natural that that situation has some anxiety or some fear, or generally is not an easy situation to deal with. If that person is well adjusted over time through training and exposure and acquisition of skills, they usually don't have any problems. The second situation, which is the one we really are going to deal with, is more complex. Generally speaking, the performance situation is connected to a other situation in the past, or many situations in the past that were stressful. This can go back to childhood trauma, all different types of situations. So what happens is one reacts to the performance situation as if it were that threatening situation in the past. And oftentimes you feel like, or one would feel like they're playing a different film, even though I'm in this film. This, of course, is not an error of our systems. It's not an error of bad regulation. Mostly it's an issue of perception. Like, if I work from an internal map of the city of Cologne, Germany, from 1950, and I want to navigate it today, I'm going to run into different issues and problems. Unfortunately, the connection that the unconscious mind makes with earlier situations that remind one of current situations is that they're very, very strong, and they aren't just an act of cognition. Meaning, well, I realize that, this reminds me of my 5th grade teacher who embarrassed me in front of the class. It's not really going to take if I don't realize that this is also an emotional thing that exists. We won't go into a whole lot of that here because those are best dealt with in one-on-one therapy sessions. Many techniques that we use to mask symptoms often don't work. The old adage of imagine the audience in their underwear, or pretend you're a clown, or pretend you're a very arrogant person. those things can help certain people and they don't help others. And I guess the first question is, why is that? And that is, most people, actually all people, have a preferred reaction to stress. Sort of like an inborn or biological reaction. It's not really clear if it's biological, like in our genes or whatever, but it would seem that most people have a preferred default mode of fight, flight, or freeze. If your natural reaction is to freeze and you try to pretend you're something other than that, you'll definitely have a large portion of internal conflict. And the key in any performance situation is to realize, yeah, it's stressful and one needs a lot of energy, and sometimes it can be difficult, but it is not a life-threatening situation. And to react to that as though it were that way will always cause problems. Oftentimes, forcing a specific mechanism or reaction also will actually increase the level of stress instead of decreasing it. Sometimes those things that we do, like imagining the audience in their underwear or pretending to be super confident or super arrogant or whatever, they'll work for a short period of time, or they'll work for one specific situation. But they do often create a dependence upon those techniques that is questionable for me, because not one concert is the same as the other. And each situation in my life requires a living and current response, instead of, well, I have this algorithm that I use every time I have to perform. Real connection with the audience, real connection with the music and the other performers requires being present. And all of those things basically are the same as taking beta blockers. They dampen the nervous system, they dampen the reactions, and suppress the symptoms. The problem with suppressing symptoms is that symptoms are always a signpost telling us, here's something that I should look at. Like, obviously very simple, if my finger hurts, I should look at my finger. Maybe I have a cut. Maybe I broke one of my finger's bones. If I have tension in my shoulders and my voice gets all kind of scratchy like this, I should think about, well, what is this trying to tell me? What's going on here? Am I afraid of something? Or is this situation reminding me of something in my past? Am I just uncertain as to how to act here because this is new to me? That's all normal stuff. But the idea is to find what it is that's causing this reaction, instead of just suppressing it. Which leads me to the main point at the end of this. This video is basically purposed on giving some idea and the theory of where strong performance anxiety comes from, and to give you a kind of a plan as to how to go on forward. Because one-on-one work is generally better than trying to reorientate yourself. When I say reorientate, well, what do I mean? Like I said before, the fear comes from the perception that I am in a threatening situation, either because I feel threatened when I'm not threatened, or the threatening situation reminds me of something from my past. Our unconscious mind generally will not question its perspective and the things that it's accepted very quickly without an external point of reference. And often we'll try to keep control, not always, but often we'll try to control its own perspective. So with another person there, we can often connect with them and see, well, maybe my perception of the way these things are is not correct, and then correct that perception, and then the system will find that this is not actually a threatening situation. Once that occurs, the most important aspects of the next videos come to play. How do I train so a situation that I'm in is, first of all, not threatening to me? And then how do I practice so that I can stay relaxed and focused on the situation to have a deep and meaningful connection with the other musicians, the audience, and the music we're performing? So come back next time and we'll discuss some practical steps in how to get ready to perform. Take it easy.